I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the City of Meridian Solid Waste Advisory Committee regular meeting for April 24th, 2024. It is now 2 minutes after 4, and we'll start with roll call. Please identify if you're present. Andy Arriaga. James Leckie.
Here.
Mark Nelson. Meg Larson.
Here.
Scott Walters.
Here.
Steve Corey. Here. Bethany Guajardo.
Here.
We'll move on to ex officio members. Rochelle Klein.
Here.
Quorum being present, we'll go ahead and start business. As you would know, we got a new member, Bethany, joining us tonight. And I'm going to give her a couple seconds to introduce herself. Welcome to the commission.
Hello, nice to meet everybody. Glad to be here. I am a marketer and I've been a resident of the city for the last 3.5 years or so, and it's been a wonderful city to live in. So I'm excited to be a part of everything that's happening here. I'm a big believer in doing what you can where you are with what you have. So glad to support this, the city in any way I can. So glad to be here. Nice to meet you guys.
Thank you and welcome. We had a bit of a discussion about marketing, and it seemed like it was something that Bethany might have some interest in. And I know it's something we keep thinking we're going to have a lot of involvement in. So look forward to your input in the meeting.
Yeah, happy to help out wherever I can.
Our first item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. A draft agenda has been sent out. I think I've been notified there'll be a couple of little additions. Call them a 4A, which will be an update on the Community Recycling Fund program. Anyway, and then also a 6A, which will be an update on household hazardous waste. With those amendments, is there any comments or motions?
Mr. Chair, no comment. Move to adopt the agenda with the addition of item 4A and 6A as noted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the agenda be approved as amended. For the comments? Sensing the commission is ready for a vote, all those in favor of approving the amended agenda signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. The motion passes. Very good. We'll go ahead and move on to approval of the minutes from the March 27th meeting. Are there any comments on the draft minutes?
Mr. Chair, no comments. Move to approve the March 27th, 2024 meeting minutes as written.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the draft minutes for the March 27th meeting as written. Further comments? Sensing the commission is ready for a vote, all those in favor of approving the draft minutes as written signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Thank you. We'll move on to staff program reports after that. The first item in staff program reports is City Code Title II, Commissions and Committees. Ms. Kane, thank you. Good to see you.
How about now? Right, thank you. My name is Emily Kane. I'm a deputy city attorney with the city of Meridian. I work for Bill and with Bill. And I'm here today to talk to you about a project that I've been working on as part of the city's strategic plan. Oh, there we go. So the citywide strategic plan we have a 2021-2025 strategic plan for the entire city, and it outlines goals and strategies that we're using to accomplish those goals. The legal department has just one goal, and that's assigned to us, I should say. And that is to update ordinances and simplify processes in order to improve effectiveness and provide premier services to our citizens. So the key goal is updating our ordinances and making everything more streamlined and simplifying our processes. So the part of that is updating. I'm going through the entire city code and kind of auditing and getting rid of outdated things and updating information and just bringing it up to what we're currently doing, and also kind of getting rid of what we're not using. So as part of that process, this is the list of everything I've been working on. I have accomplished essentially one title. We've worked through the process for Title VII, which is traffic and parking. I gave myself credit for the Unified Development Code, but truth is that's completely out of my purview, but it's up to date. So right now we're somewhat going out of order, and right now we're at Title II. So I hope to have all of these checked off by the end of the year, but right now we're up to Title II, which is why I'm before you, because Title II is regarding our commissions. So we have, in addition to SWAC, we also have Arts, Historic Preservation, Parks and Rec, Planning and Zoning, Transportation, and then Board of Adjustment. These are all governed by Title II of our city code. We also have other boards that are in other titles. The Compensation Committee is in Title I, as is the Districting Committee, and our Impact Fee Advisory Committee is in Title X. We also have ad hoc committees, or committees with kind of fluid membership, the Meridian Youth Advisory Council, the Meridian Anti-Drug Coalition, and the Senior Advisory Board. And so the idea is to bring them all together and under the same umbrella and make everything a little more consistent. So drilling down a little bit, there are some redundant provisions that just kind of repeat themselves for each commission. I'm bringing them into one umbrella section for advisory commissions, and those are our commissions that make recommendations to city council and are kind of subject matter focus groups that focus on one area, in your case, solid waste and recycling. I'm also working to clarify the application of the laws, so open meetings, public records, and ethics laws. It's surprisingly confusing, especially when we're dealing, not so much with SWAC, but when we're dealing with those smaller committees like MIAC and the Meridian Youth Advisory, the MADC. It's kind of unclear with the fluid membership which rules apply. For you all, it's the open meetings, public records, and ethics laws do apply. So that's less for you and more for everybody else. I'm bringing some uniformity in the structure for each of the code for each commission. They were all written at different times by different people, and so this will make them all a little more uniform. And we're providing language that reflects more of the updated functions. So what you are doing and will be doing and what we're asking of this commission and all the commissions, we're making a real effort to clarify the roles and responsibilities of our volunteer commissioners and our staff. There have been, in other jurisdictions, have run into some issues where their volunteers are acting like staff, and that's they've run into some problems financially, which I'm not concerned about that with any of you or actually any of our commissions, but we do want to make it crystal clear what everyone's roles are as far as operations and money and who does what. So that's part of this effort as well. The plan is that I have worked with the mayor on the edits that you see before you. So just internally, this is kind of the plan. So I'm updating the commissions, and from there I'll update city council. So have them look at the changes I've made to Title II, or that I'm suggesting to make to Title II, and have them get on board, of course. And then with a little luck, they will be on board and we will be able to adopt the ordinance early this summer, May or June. Oh. that's the end. So I thought this gets a little tedious, but I'm just going to run through the changes that you see on the code that's in your packet. Feel free to interrupt me at any time. I should have said that in the beginning, but I'm going to just start at the beginning and kind of give you the highlights. The comments and the little bubbles do explain kind of the reasoning between in the changes, but starting at the beginning, as I mentioned, I'm making an effort to sort everyone into a different umbrella, different families of what every board does. SWAC is in the advisory commission under that umbrella, and so that's part of the piece of the code that I have brought to you. We also have statutory commissions, which are established by Idaho Code. That's our Planning and Zoning Commission and Impact Fee Advisory Committee. So those act a little differently than our advisory commissions. We have our ad hoc committees that I mentioned, and then we have kind of standing committees that, in this case, I think we only have one at this point. It's the Assessments Review Committee that reviews water bills, in case it's kind of almost a quasi judicial board. So moving on, I removed some extraneous language that we had that's already covered by the Idaho Open Meetings Law and by different parts of the code. I consolidated things that were redundant. I reworded the headers to be uniform throughout the title. The provisions that are in common for all the advisory commissions are bylaws, chair and vice chair. Some commissions had a president and vice president, and changing them was a surprisingly big deal. So I'm actually glad that's not a change for you. The annual report you all had in common, but now it's in the umbrella section. We did add some prohibitions for commissioners. Since again, you're volunteers and we so appreciate that, but we can't have volunteers entering into contracts, whether verbal or written, on the city's behalf. That includes applying for grants. So staff can apply for grants if the commission has that direction and it fits in your mission, and that is, operationally appropriate, but commissioners cannot apply for grants. There's a lot of tracking and monitoring that we need to do. So that is a staff function. And then you don't enter private property, but please don't. It's something we're adding to our code. That's more of an issue for commissions that deal with property issues like historic preservation and arts. So I'm on to page 2. So again, clarifying which bodies are subject to which governmental ethics laws and transparent government laws. So advisory commissions, it's all 3. We have a more uniform provisions for what is covered by which qualifications are necessary. We talk about appointment, the size of the commission, the minimum age. It makes it clear that commissioners are volunteers. Your terms are 3 years. The youth commissioner is 1 year. This establishes a uniform process for partial terms and vacancies. If someone were to leave, what do we do? There's a little bit of inconsistency now, or it's just not uniform. And then talks about, this is already covered for SWAC, but city staff assignments to support commissions. Heading on down, I did clarify, I'm now on page 4. So there was some confusion about the attendance requirements. So anyone who misses half of the meetings in a calendar year, it used to be a kind of a rolling year, and that was hard to track. So that clarifies it, again, more for other commissions. The budgetary information and who's in charge of what has been clarified. That's a staff function. The staff presents the budget, the staff prepares the budget, and again, enters into the contracts. And that's largely to protect you as well as the city. So you're not out there doing stuff on behalf of the city that really needs to be handled by staff with oversight, often from our department or some support departments. And on to page 5 of our PDF. And I'm going to move on to the provisions that are specifically about the Solid Waste Advisory Commission. So maybe this will get a little more juicy for you. So again, the format, this is a little shorter now. The clean copy kind of illustrates how much shorter your code is, and that's the case again for everybody. The format is to have the code address the establishment of the commission, the duties and powers, the qualifications, and then the meetings. When do you meet? So your provisions now do that. It does, it clarified your duties and powers and got it. So our commissions, again, the focus is moving more toward having our commissions be really invested with the authority to make recommendations, to be the voice of our citizens in considering the issues that are before you and bringing those to city council, and making recommendations in the area that you are interested in and that you are the experts in. So that's the purpose of the modifications that are made to the duties and powers section. Your duties and powers many were slightly redundant, or just kind of spread out, I should say there. So I consolidated them and removed some of the redundancies and some of the kind of outdated provisions. And toward the end of kind of my highlights, I think you've had an opportunity to read your the proposed changes. So at this point, I think I'm going to stop talking and let you ask any questions that you might have or give any feedback.
Members of the commission, do you have any comments or questions on the material that's been presented?
I just wanted to say, as a designer, I appreciate the effort you put into the design of your presentation. And
Thank you.
that is also very informative. Thank you for that.
Thank you. All right. Well, I'm easy to find. If you think of any questions, you're welcome to ask or send them through Bill and he'll get them to me, and happy to take a call if you'd like to discuss further. Otherwise, thanks for having me. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the next item, which is a monthly presentation on biosolids and grit.
All right, good afternoon, commissioners. So as Commissioner Corey mentioned, this is those monthly presentations. We committed to give you one per month throughout the year just to talk about different topics. And some of you might already know these things, but if not, hopefully this will be interesting information. So the first question you might have is, why would SWAC care about biosolids and what maybe are biosolids? So couple of reasons. So it is one of the most expensive solid waste disposal components of city business. In fact, we spend about $430,000 per year to dispose of biosolids. And we also have significant future potential to possibly do something else with the biosolids in the future rather than just landfilling them. So I'm excited to share that with you guys today. So in case you're not familiar with biosolids and how they're generated, I'll just briefly cover. I won't get into, I could talk about this all day, but we'll just do a brief high-level overview. So as the flow comes into the wastewater plant, the very first thing that happens is the flow is passed through screens. And what these screens are called perforated plate screens, and they catch all the things that people really shouldn't be flushing in the first place. So wipes, dental floss, trash, all kinds of things. So those things get removed by the screens, they get washed, and then they get compacted, and then Republic Services hauls those away to the landfill in roll-off containers for us. The second thing then is called grit removal. And what grit is it is The heavy stuff that is non-treatable, like gravel, sand, eggshells, so things that if they go on into our wastewater process could damage the pumps. And then we also really can't treat those any further. We're not going to be able to break down rocks or sand. So those also get washed and then sent in those same, or in those roll-off containers, and Republic calls those to the landfill for us as well. So after that, the water goes into the main wastewater treatment plant. And in this stage, we use microorganisms to treat the water. These are naturally occurring. And essentially, they eat or consume or take up the nutrients and the organics in the wastewater. After that, the organisms are sent to our digesters. They spend about 30 to 40 days in there, and it's about 95 degrees. And so that helps break down these organisms. And once they're done with digestion, they go into our centrifuge. So in the centrifuge, it spins really fast and it removes the liquid from the solid. So what's left at the very end is your biosolids. Sometimes you'll hear this called sludge or cake, but it's all the same thing. It's all biosolids. And essentially, this is a nutrient-rich soil-like product. And so what you can do with these biosolids really depends on your level of treatment beforehand. So there's 3 classifications of biosolids, A, B, and landfill. So to be classified as a Class A biosolid, it has to essentially have gone through a treatment process where you either compost it to 131 degrees Fahrenheit, you dry them to over 176 degrees Fahrenheit, or you can also just heat them up to 356 degrees. So essentially, you're just cooking any sort of pathogens that are left in there. You can also irradiate them or pasteurize them. And then you also have to do something called vector reduction. And what that is it makes it so whenever you apply these solids, things like bugs and rodents and raccoons and anything that might be attracted to these solids because there's still some value in them, they are dissuaded from doing that because you've either dried them out, you have either raised the pH really high, or you've reduced the volatile solids. So basically, if you're able to do all of those things and get your biosolids to Class A, you really are able to do a lot of things with them. So there's very little regulatory tracking. You can give them away to the public, you can sell them, you can use them on any kind of crops or food. And the reason I'm telling you all of this, because you probably didn't care about Class A biosolids, but we get asked a lot about why the city isn't doing something different with their biosolids. And the reason is that we currently don't have the ability to get it to this level. So there's quite a bit of substantial treatment and investment that you would have to do to get the biosolids to this level. So, not that you wanted to read all of that. But Class B is a level that's slightly below the Class A. So you still have to go through the vector reduction methods, and then you also have to treat it with one of the Class B methods. Essentially, they're similar to the Class A, but they're just either slightly lower temperatures or not quite as long. And you can use Class B for crops and turf, but there's more regulatory tracking. So you have to report to the EPA exactly where they were used. The site that it was used at has to be fenced off. You have a waiting period, like if you use them to grow a food crop, there's a waiting period before you could eat that food. And there's restrictions on like animals grazing on that type of crop. So there's a lot more restrictions involved in what you can do with those. Or the third option is you can landfill your biosolids. So generally, this is the easiest of the options to meet. You have to pass 2 tests. So the first is the paint filter test, and they literally use a filter and they place the solids in it and they wait, and I think 5-minute period. And if any free liquid drips out of that, it means the solids are too liquidy to be disposed of at the landfill. The second one is called a TCLP, a toxic characteristic leaching procedure. And essentially what this does is it simulates what happens in the landfill. So it simulates rain falling on them, it simulates them breaking down, and essentially shows you if you put these biosolids in landfill and they were to break down, are there any metals or toxic things that are coming off of them? So two things that have to happen to go to landfill. Most of these landfills have to be lined and they have to be approved to accept biosolids. Really easy on the reporting side for us. And And so we bring 100% of our biosolids to landfill because we do not today produce Class B or Class A biosolids. So what do we do with it today? We make about 9,000 tons of biosolids, and that represents about 2% of the total volume taken to the Treasure Valley or out of the Treasure Valley to the landfill annually. So the landfill charges us $32 a ton. This has been a topic of much conversation about what this fee should be, but it represents a significant cost to the city. So any changes in this is something we're very interested in. And the other component to the biosolids disposal is actually getting the solids up to the landfill. So historically, we were using a contractor to haul these for us, but costs were continuing to rise there too. So we were spending close to $150,000 each year for that service. And we asked the city council in 2022 if we could buy our own truck and trailer. And we were able to do that there was quite a few lead time issues and constraints with COVID. So we actually just got the truck after 2 years, and the guys hauled our own load of biosolids to the landfill in March. Significant cost savings here. So the truck and trailer cost us about $350,000, which means that the truck will pay for itself in just a couple of years of us self-hauling. So we're really excited about that. So we've kind of fixed the hauling issue, reduced the cost there. The really only other way to reduce costs is to reduce the amount that we're taking to the landfill. So we have a really exciting project that we have in place. We are currently designing a biosolids thermal dryer. There's a few things that are really neat about this project. The first is that it's being funded by our ARPA grant funding from the federal government. So it's actually not going to cost the city any money to do this. And then it's going to use solar and the excess biogas that's currently flared today to heat the dryer. So currently that biogas is just flared to the atmosphere. This is a much better way to beneficially use that heat source. And it will reduce our biosolids by about 75%. So that's significant. Today we take 7 to 8 trips per week to the landfill. That'll be about 1 to 2 per week up to the landfill. The other exciting thing is that it will, right out the gate, get us to Class B, and we're also putting in a heated storage hopper that will allow us to also get to Class A. So it means we can do a lot more things with our biosolids, like potentially composting. We could then at that point give away or sell our biosolids, so lots more options. And this project will be done by spring of 2026. So a really quick overview about what they are and how we handle them, but I am happy to answer any questions that you might have, but just wanted to give you guys a little history and information about the city's biosolids.
Thank you very much. Members of the commission, do you have any comments or questions? Bethany?
I have so many. This is actually very interesting. One question is, do you guys get asked very much about like microplastics and how that's treated in all of this? And then also, is this officially launched the BioPlate or BioPlate dryer?
So good question. So so kind of the microplastics is an emerging area of study. There currently are no regulations around it, but it's definitely something that we're watching in our industry. And then, yes, the dryer is currently under design, and so we'll start construction, I believe, early next year.
And then when will that be completed?
That'll be done in spring of 2026.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Rochelle?
Lorelei, I think this is super exciting. And so is the potential then, once you get to Class A or Class B, if you can get to Class A, instead of paying disposal anywhere, that you could actually just start selling them as a revenue stream? So you flip from $290,000 a year in disposal costs to some sort of revenue.
Absolutely. Yep, if there's the market and the desire for it. But at minimum, we would hope at least it would be zero cost, if not a profit generator.
Very exciting. Good job.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Sorry, and then also, so you're saying that basically there would be the ability to turn it into like compost waste that people can come and purchase for their lawns or whatever?
Yes, so there is potential with that once it's treated to that level. We would have to evaluate the staff time and the location to do that and that kind of stuff, but it allows that to actually be a possibility where today we can't do that.
Is that similar to the program that Boise has? at their landfill? Don't they have like a? have
So
something
it
similar?
is similar. So Boise does not use their biosolids in their compost. So they take their biosolids. They have a farm that they actually land apply all of their biosolids to. And then they sell those crops to generate revenue for their farm. It's a really big farm outside of south of Kuna. So the biosolids aren't used in compost. They have a food waste and yard waste compost program that is then returned to the customers. So kind of a combination of that maybe.
Okay, cool. Interesting. Thank you.
Additional comments, questions?
Yes. I think back in 2024, when I created it starts at home wastewater treatment plan, it was called Meridian Gold. So
Additional comments or questions? Thank you, Director. Next item is the monthly tonnage report.
Okay, so number 3. So we're going to look at January and March through March. So we're kind of back to normal, our average after the leaf season. We kind of saw the blip, starting November, going to December, and then we had the Christmas trees in January. Then we're kind of back to what we normally see for the residential, and then commercial has been pretty consistent. And then with the trash also looks like there is an increase in commercial. I'm not sure why it's getting warmer out, so maybe there's more commercial activity such as building. And then this one just looks at specifically to 3 months and just looking at the tonnage for each month. We have the residential and commercial recycling. So obviously residential is usually always been higher on the recycling side. And then for the residential and commercial trash, it's actually pretty similar here, but it does get a little bit higher in March for the commercial. And then just specifically looking at households and then the average pound per household for each of those months, it's tracking similar how we've been having it the other months. So nothing surprising that I see. And then with our diversion rate, we again see that bump up for residential during the leaf season and then the Christmas tree and then going back down. And then commercial has gone down some for the diversion. And then we're sitting about average for the total diversion hovering around, 10%. So diversion meaning, everything that we collect and then we take out the portion of materials that is not going to the landfill. So either recycled or composted. And then looking at for these 3 months, looking at the waste composition, again, we have commercial trash still makes up a good portion of it, and then residential right behind that. And then green waste since we're out of the leaf season, it's gone back to almost 0, so it's 0.3. So that's probably from the trees. And then we have the residential recycling around 4%. Or 5, sorry. And then lastly, starting for this year, we have Track's kind of the same as last year for HHW. We have almost 9 tons for January, 10 for February, and March has gone up a little bit with a little over 10. Does anybody have any questions on any of the tonnage?
Mr. Chair? Does there tend to be a spike in the springtime because of like spring cleaning and that sort of thing? Do a lot of people partake in the program?
When we had spring cleaning, yeah, there was a spike in the trash, not so much in the diversion, the recycling.
And you said diversion was composting and recycling?
Recycling, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, taken away from the landfill,
Got
the
it.
Ada County landfill.
Got it. Thank you.
And I'll probably compile something in halfway through the year, but I was just curious and looked at the bulky item numbers. And last year around this time, I think for March, there was like 41 bulky items collected. Now it's almost 300. So we are definitely, people are definitely taking advantage of the program, which is great. And then that's just spreading the burden, the costs, and just everything throughout the whole year versus what used to be just spring cleanup.
And does that also include commercial or just residential?
Residential. So bulky item is just for residents. Yeah.
Thank you.
Residents and people who are in 4 or less units in a multifamily.
Any comments or questions on the material that's been presented? Very good. We'll go on to that item 4A on the Community Recycling Fund Program. Back at the start of the year in January, we had roughly 85,000 in the account. Over the quarter so far, we've received $2,650 from Hand in Hand We Recycle. Thank you. So the account balance right now is 87,600 roughly. And we'll get back to that a little later in the agenda. Unless there's a question on it, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item, which is Trash or Treasure event coming up on May 4th and 5th. Sayer, do you want to add some comments about that?
Hoping my screen comes up. So currently we have 420 participants that have signed up. It's going to be lower. It's probably be less than last year or the previous years because before people would sign up for Trash or Treasure and usually those things, you know, maybe they were iffy and then they would turn around and sign up for spring cleanup and that's up. So I think now we're just seeing people that have pretty good stuff out there that just want to sign up for Trash or Treasure. So so that's going to be interesting as it got about a week and a half before it closes, the sign up. And then if anybody is out there May 4th and 5th, take some pictures just to see how so you can show us how people are displaying their items with hopefully with the participation tag on there. So yeah, and just kind of if you have any stories or experience about how you were able to navigate the map and go out and find things, that's also helpful.
Mr. Chair. Sayer, you just mentioned the map, so you'll have the map again this year that you can kind of zoom in on what the items are, or is it just the locations? Can you refresh my memory?
Yeah, so the map right now is if you go to the website, it's active. So it will show the person's address, the items that they have, just kind of a brief, like a listing. And if you have the option and they can put one picture on. So there are people out there, if you kind of scroll over each little dot, it will kind of show up kind of their information, and then if they have a picture or not, you can click and see it. So there's some interesting stuff out there.
Other question? I'm sorry, I'm like nerding out over here. For this event, do we have like a social media page, or like how does this stuff get promoted other than through the utilities, like bill and all that?
That's the main way, and that's when you sign up, we actually have a survey how you hear about it, and that's primarily the most heard about way. But word of mouth, but yeah, we have a social media page, Trash or Treasure, Facebook, Instagram. I don't think we do X, Twitter anymore. Nextdoor, and then we have our e-newsletter. We also have Text 'em all. That's going to be going out again soon from Republic Services that basically texts everybody that they have a phone number to let you know. So a lot of different avenues. Yeah.
And billing inserts.
Yeah, the billing inserts, yeah. Via the library as well. I send a flyer there. And then the website, obviously.
There's many dots on the map there, Sarah. That's pretty exciting. Thank you.
Are you looking at it now? Yeah.
Additional comments or questions on Trash or Treasure? Very good. Then we'll go ahead and move on to Public Works Week. I know Sayre's probably going to have some stuff. Commissioner Larson will too. So not sure which one of you wants to start out.
So as the agenda notes, Public Works Day is May 22nd. We'll have our event here at City Hall from 4 to 7 p.m., 4 to 7 p.m. Republic and the city team will be outside as usual, and then SWAC will have our booth inside. We will talk about recycling programs for the city residents inside. So I will be able to be here this time. If anyone would love to join me at the booth, we'd be happy to have you there. Just a couple of us are sufficient to handle, so maybe we can do some shifts. So reach out to me if you're interested in manning the booth for some period of time and talking to the folks in Meridian about recycling. That's what I have.
Pretty similar to, yeah, so we'll be Republic Services, City, and then Timber Creek will be outside near the truck and then a roll off so you can paint your hands on the roll off. And then, yeah, I think you guys are going to be in the same place as last year. I'll let you know if it's changed, but I don't think it has. And yeah, and then you'll get to use your new fancy tablecloth thing as well.
Members of the commission, any comments or questions on Public Works Expo? I know I will be available, and certainly you can count on me to be at that booth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate that.
Very good. Then we'll move on to the next item, which was 6A, which is the household hazardous waste. I think we have a update.
Yeah, an exciting update. So before I was talking, Clean Earth was scheduled to go until the end of May, but now they're going to go to the end of this fiscal year, so September 30th. During that time, and that's the plan. And then Ada County Landfill, it's already been in the works, but they're working on an RFP to request proposals for open up the contract starting fiscal year 25, so October 1st. So that's something that they're working on right now. And then the city will, depending on the pricing and vendors that they've that the contractors have written up, we can decide, we as in the city, if we can afford just keeping the one transfer station location, or do we want to open up and hopefully have maybe more than just one site, one north town, one south town. So that will just be depending on the pricing. So hopefully we'll know that the end of probably, I don't know when, but good to know that we'll at least be keeping with one Clean Earth until the end. So continuity of services will still be maintained. So that's what's important.
Commissioners, any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Sarah, I'm curious, it's getting dangerously close to the end of September, when a new contractor would, we've run into this, it's a couple of years in a row. Did they have any idea when an RFP would be pushed out? Because by the time they respond and evaluate to order box trucks and all the assets and train people, it's getting very close to September.
Yeah, I wasn't told that. I don't know. So hopefully they'll let us know soon so we can, you know, if we need to make a recommendation or talk about it. But yeah. No, it was just the email basically just said, we'll have Clean Earth until September 30th. So they don't have to pack up right now, which would be good.
Unless there's any other further comments, we'll go ahead and move into old business. The first item under old business is the grant subcommittee. Commissioner Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the work continues. We did come up with a very basic proposal and shared with city staff and got some excellent feedback on that proposal. So it needs some work still. So we're continuing to craft what that grant program would look like, how it could be implemented in a way that meets the city's requirements in terms of funding, who's eligible for funding and what kinds of activities we could do. So got a good start and got some great feedback, but it needs a good bit of work yet. So more will be forthcoming as we continue to develop that.
Thank you for your work on that project. It's definitely something that the council goes ahead and shows interest in, so appreciate it immensely. The next item under old business is recycle a bicycle, which we've got coming up fairly quickly in a couple of weeks. Sayard, are you going to stand in for Mark?
Mr. Chair, I'm on the call.
Oh, great. Welcome, Mark. Made the record show that Mark did join us.
I'll let her speak since I've been out of town. If there's any updates from them being at the this week to fix bikes, but I know she has some numbers on how many have registered, which is a pretty high number. And I know Commissioner Walters had mentioned we'll kind of get a backlog of bikes that we might consider getting rid of a few before, or at least find a new home for them for a minute. I'm not sure. I'll let them speak to that first.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, it'd probably be a group effort with Scott and Rochelle. So we have about 90 requests and I got probably 96. I just got 6 more today. It closes on Friday at 5. So right now we have all the requests in a binder. It's over at the transfer station, organized, ready for people to help out and basically connect bikes with the person that would best fit the bike. So that's where we're at right now. And we got I purchased some supplies at Meridian Cycle. So those are also over there. And it sounds like Scott and Rochelle have been working on bikes. I'll turn it over to them or to Scott.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I was there last night and revised 5 bikes at least. And there were another probably 10 in the recycle bin that I moved, several that looked like they could be fixed up pretty quickly. So there's not a lack of bikes to give away.
And Mr. Chair and Commission, to add to what Scott said, I was over there today. So we're going to start moving them through. Like I identified the first 7 people and bikes for those 7 people. So we'll move those to the blue bike rack on the east side of our building. And those people will be contacted tonight, and then we'll start like moving through the bikes quicker instead of waiting for the day of the event, because we're getting bikes repaired and we have people waiting. We figure it's just good to start moving those bikes through now.
In preparing for the interview Monday morning, I was really happy to go ahead and see we seem to be kind of crystallizing this of having people that request be able to pick up their bikes the week before and take that pressure off of us over at the booth, and then kind of encourage people who are coming to the booth to be people who are looking for kids' bikes and such. I definitely like that. I thought it was very well stated and clear. So I think that's a really good move on the program's part.
And just for the rest of the folks in here, if you didn't catch Steve's interview, the chairman's interview on Channel 7 in the morning, it was really well done. Good job, Steve. It was fun to see that and have so many people learn about the program.
Thank you.
I should point out that this is the last meeting before that, so if you want to request people to staff the booth, now's a good time to go ahead and request that. And I must admit, let's see, that is the 11th. I have a graduation of a goddaughter back in Rapid City that day, so I won't be in town then, but hopefully some other people might be able to step up and attend that, because it's a wonderful, fun event. Giving out bikes is a fun thing.
I'm all for fun, Mr. Chair. I'll be there.
Me too.
Chair, so people can email me and then I can kind of get a list. So it's going to be Bethany, Meg, Scott, me, Mark. And if anybody else is interested, yeah, just email and I can give you the details. And then you guys are going to go to the transfer station on Sunday or Saturday morning to pick up bikes to bring to the Unplug event?
I believe so. That's what we've done in the past, and it worked out well.
Yeah, and we'll figure out which truck and trailer or what we need to haul. I can provide that. We'll confirm that in the next week. So in the past, we've even loaded them the night before. Sometimes, so it's quicker in the morning. We'll see. We'll work at that out. And also wanted to mention, we did meet with Meridian Cycles and purchase some more kind of consumables and 26-inch tubes, which are most common, and some like oils and slime, those sorts of things, just some handheld stuff. And I asked them if I could purchase larger quantities of slime for the big day. And rather than us buy a few gallons of that stuff, they've offered to let us take their slime containers and pumps from their store and use them for the day and just have us return what's left and without a charge. So that's what we'll use with the Timber Creek. So I'll follow up with that, the day before, those sorts of things. So they've been super helpful, and they said they were just too short-handed to offer somebody with this on May 11th, and we'll probably do some more inventory on Tuesday when we're out there and make a new list for Sayard to purchase for us. And thank you, Sayard, for picking that stuff up last week since I was out of town. And thanks for Steve for representing us Tuesday.
Additional comments or questions on Recycle a Bicycle?
Just that's great news, Mr. Chair. We appreciate the support of our community partners that way.
And I will participate in Public Works also.
Move on from old business to new business, and the item under new business is the Ada County Solid Waste Advisory Committee, which met yesterday. I want to say how pleasant it was that I would say that a couple of years ago, we were routinely listening to conversations about how to increase the top line out at the landfill, to go ahead and focus on landfill fees and how to get more material up there. And it was very frustrating for us because our concern includes airspace up there, and we're not really all that comfortable with discussions about increasing what flows up there, and fees are definitely problems. But yesterday, we had a very good discussion that I would say focused on maybe increasing the bottom line to go ahead and reduce costs or to do things in more efficient ways. And as a result of that, there was a lot of information passed on. If I could just kind of hit the highlights on it, they are in the process at this point of completing a cost of services study, which would justify what the fees would be. And they expect that to be completed in about a month or two. And they committed on that regardless of whatever conclusions come out of the report, they won't go ahead and request any fee changes before October 1st of 2025. So we'll be able to go ahead and take that into account, not on the fee cycle we're coming into, but next fee cycle. Second, there's only a small amount of waste coming into Ada County from outside the county. This is kind of a follow-up on Elmore County had a rather significant incident and had to scramble to find a place for their material to go. A lot of that is going to Burley, but there is a small amount coming to Ada County. And they left that at the fact that was going to be discussed at today's county commission meeting. They were made an obligation to update us on whatever came out of that. And we'll pass that on to you when we hear anything. They teased us that the next step on household hazardous waste would be determined at today's commission meeting. Thank you for that update on continuity of service for the rest of this fiscal year. I think that will be when they're presenting the RFP to the county commission. So hopefully we'll get more information that as far as what's going to happen next fiscal year within the day or so. And again, we'll forward that to you when we hear anything about it. Fourth item was that the Ada County landfill has reached capacity for collecting leachate, and they are in the process of arranging to be able to ship about 4 million gallons off-site. That also was on the county commission agenda today. And I think we probably have to wait for any kind of comment from them before we go ahead and say anything more about it. But just because of the rain and snow that we have enjoyed this last 2 winters, they've managed to fill up the 2 ponds that they've got up there. And there's another activity on this that based on ARPA funds too, they're going to be able to build a 3rd pond for capacity. They're making adjustments for the freeboard that they have to have in those ponds, which will give them a bit more capacity. But this drainage of a few million gallons is kind of necessary at this point for them to be able to operate consistent with their the project for injecting RNG, which is the cleaned up landfill gas into the Intermountain Gases pipeline is proceeding quite well. They're pouring pads and they'll be receiving equipment in the next few months. And they expect to be online in October to be able to switch over from their current process, which uses about a third of the gas to go ahead and generate electricity and flares the remaining 2/3 with no benefit, to being able to have all of that go in and displace some of the natural gas that we've got in the area and have that benefit the environment. Sixth item is a report that their pilot project for using foam for daily cover, which was brought on board because hopefully the foam could go ahead and be used instead of soil for daily cover, and would have reduced the airspace that's taken up with cover on the activity. It did not have a successful conclusion for numerous reasons. And so a couple of years ago, they were using tarps instead of soil, and they feel that that was a good motion and something they want to get back to. They have one tarp right now, but they were going to be talking with the county commission today to go ahead and get approval for buying some more tarps, but they'll switch over into using tarps for controlling the trash, keep it from blowing away and such, and that will reduce the amount of daily cover that's being put out there and give us a little bit more landfill life. Seventh item was a switch from, this is something that they called it pancake compaction. But basically what would happen would be that when you take waste up there, you would dump the waste in one area, and then they'll use bulldozers to push it into another area where it would actually be compacted. But the compaction operations would not be right in the same area where the waste is being delivered. And it creates a great deal of efficiency and also results in the ability to vertically pack the material instead of trying to do it diagonally, and it allows you to get a little bit better efficiency on the compaction. So again, another activity that looks like it might give us a little bit more landfill life. Item 8, they're using grant money to install 4 new extraction wells and upgrade one of the other wells to be able to more efficiently pull up groundwater to supply to their treatment operations. Past operations a decade ago, or maybe 15, 20 years ago, had made it so there was a little bit of contamination in the groundwater below the landfill, and they're using a pump and treat type system, but they're significantly increasing the ability to do that work. And just as kind of a status of what's going on there, North Ravine Cell Stage 4 is going to be brought online in May and June. So that'll open up a rather larger area, but that's just kind of the status there. And then they went ahead and identified that they're going to be updating all of their software up there so that hopefully that'll make it a lot more efficient for vehicles getting in and getting out of the landfill area, help out on billing and whatever else, but make it all a lot more efficient than it's been. And then finally, they identified that if you go up there right now, there are 2 entrance lanes and 2 exit lanes up there at the landfill. They'll be putting a 3rd one in, both access and egress lanes, that they hope to have in place by FY26. So really was pleased with the fact that they gave us a very good image of what's going on at the landfill. And there was so much that was really focused on either extending the life of the landfill and trying to look at better ways to do things to reduce costs. And they kind of gave us a challenge on this, that the routine agenda up there will have a new item on discussing diversion. So I think now every meeting that we have up there will have a little bit of time dedicated to diversion. And with that, if you have any questions or comments on any of that immense material, now would be the time to pass back any helpful thoughts. Well, as usual, we'll keep on providing information that we receive. And with that, that takes care of all of our business. Next item is stakeholder updates for public services. Rochelle, anything? Okay, very good. Thank you for jumping in there. As far as upcoming events, first off, just a reminder, there's a volunteer appreciation lunch tomorrow, if you've made a reservation. And the next meeting is going to be delayed a week because fourth Tuesday would be during the Public Works Expo. So the next meeting will be May 29th, and it'll be at 4 p.m. And as usual, if you've got any subjects that we should delve into, pass them back to me or pass them to Sayard, and we'll go ahead and add them to the agenda. Is there anything I've forgotten? Very good. Then in that case, having completed all of our business, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thank you as always for everything you do for the city of Meridian, and we'll see you on and off throughout the next few weeks, I think, because of all the outreach activities we have.